Hello everyone, I'm wearing my Jefferson Airplane t-shirt, so how does that got to do with this video? I will tell you in the end. 2020 was a fantastic year for vinyl reissues to me, and I'm going to show you the most important ones to me. But I will start off this with the two that were actually the least interesting to me out of these reissues. And the first one is Teddy and the Tigers Boppin'. This is a 10-inch album reissue, gatefold sleeve. And I had three reasons to buy this album. First one was simply that I had never heard any of their albums. This was issued in 1978 originally, and this was the first release on then just starting Poco Records label. Well, I actually thought that it was because the catalog number was pt.1, but reading the sleeve notes, it turned out that Eppu Normaali Agnepop was released 3 days prior to this one. This was meant to be the first release, but turned out to be the second. The second reason was simply the historical importance. This album and this band was the one that broke out the rockabilly revival in Finland. But the main reason why I never had heard any of the albums was my brother. My brother always said that it just wasn't very good quality, and listening to this, he was right. First of all, the production here is poor, mainly because the producer wasn't a producer at all, he was their manager. So the production here is very poor. First of all, the vocalist, he's trying to imitate the Buddy Holly hiccup vocal style, and it's passable, but not that great. As a guitarist, first of all, none of the musicians here aren't really that skillful. Not that it's very necessary, but but they're just not that great. It's again passable. The guitar sound here, it sounds like a month-old bread. Drums sounds like wet socks. But surprisingly, bass sounds good, which I think has got to do with the remastering here. But yeah, the most important reason why I bought this was actually this 7-inch single. This was the first release on Poco Records label, and I have the original copy of this, but without the picture sleeve, which is the reason why I wanted to get this release. And this single actually is better in quality than the album. The second one is Carola Kielletyt leikit. I'm not a big fan of her. I only have a compilation from her, which I actually do think is very good. It's not that. But when I heard that this was being issued, I thought that, okay, the compilation is all that I need, that I'm not going to buy this album. But then later on I started thinking that the importance of this album issue is that she is one of those artists that, even though she was at least to a degree successful, she is one of those artists that when she releases an album, it sells for some amount of records, and then when it goes out of print, it's never been issued again. To my knowledge, this is the first time that this has been reissued after its original 1970 issue. There are a lot of artists that even though they sell some amount of records, when those records go out of print, their albums are never reissued. They always only get compilations. And I'm being one of that kind of a fan that only think that all I need is a compilation. So that's why I decided that I will buy this, just because it's such a rare occasion for an artist like her to get an album reissue, that she simply deserves to get that. So yeah, I did like that album. Okay, next one, 3 albums. This was, in the end, after I had bought this, I was like, why hadn't I even thought that these would be reissued? This band has never sold that much albums, but they have always been popular live band. So in that sense, it should have been a surprise that these got reissued. But I had simply never thought that these would be issued on vinyl. This band is Melrose. This is their fourth album, Rock My World. This is the least good of these albums. When they went to record this album, they didn't really have any songs at all. So two of these songs are here completely because of just having something on the album, so that it would be long enough to be called an album. So yeah, clearly the weakest of these. I do like this album, but yeah, those two songs should have been left off, and the rest of the material not that great. But then the fifth album, Trio, and the sixth album, It's in a Bag, great albums. So yeah, I'm glad that those also got reissued on vinyl. Now I have all of their albums on vinyl. This next album is one of the three albums that were the best ones as far as the Finnish albums went. Yeah, this is Pääesiintyjät, Pitkä soitto. This was a very short-lived band in 1993, only issued on CD back then. And I did see them live then, but didn't get around buying the album, and it became a rarity, that album. So I had been hoping that this would get a reissue, because this band in the other format, under another name, Francine, have been a popular live band here also. So it wasn't that big of a surprise, but yeah, it took a lot of years before it finally got reissued. I pre-ordered this as soon as I heard that this was being issued, and on a pre-order they said that this would be only 100 copies, but if you look at it, they extended the pressing to 250 copies. Okay, then let's move on to Bruce Springsteen. After Springsteen reissued the albums from his first 10 years, I knew that he would be issuing the later albums also. And there was one album that I decided that that's the one that I'm going to get. I wasn't going to buy anything else at first, but when I heard that this one, 18 tracks, were going to be issued on vinyl, this turned out to be the first one that I bought. I think it's great, just brilliant stuff, and to think that these are all outtakes. Yeah, this was first one that I got. But then second, I did buy the album that I wanted the most. This is one of my top 3 favorites from Springsteen, and I do have the other 2 originals, so Devils and Dust. Very, very happy to get this one on vinyl now. Third album that I ended up buying was The Rising. I had never heard this one, but I did see him live for the first time during this tour. And I also bought the live in New York City, but I forgot to pull it out of the shelf there. So let's move on. Another one of my all-time favorite Finnish live bands. Hold on. Yeah, this is Sir Elwoodin Hiljaiset värit, 10 tikkua laudalla. Like I said, this is one of my all-time favorite live bands, but on record, their first 4 albums are great. Fifth one is still a good one, but the quality started dropping with that one. This is their third and their most commercially successful album. Don't know how much it sold, but yeah. Anyway, this was issued in '93 on vinyl, but it was only a small pressing. I've never seen it personally myself, so now I finally got this one. I did see the first 2 one, but never got around buying those on vinyl either. All of my albums are on CD from this one. Sound quality is a good one, but the sleeve, like, look at the colors here, and then look at the original. Kind of big difference there. And then look at the back sleeve. Huge difference. So really not that great done, but on the other hand, can you see 001 out of 100. Okay, then, another example of the poor reproduction of the sleeve. This is one album that I never owned either, Against Jorma Kääriäinen, Against is More. You probably can't tell, but this looks like it's done with the Xerox machine. Obviously it's just a blow up from a CD, but it's really, really poorly done. I mean, it's not only that it looks like it's done with a Xerox machine, but it looks like it's done with a smudgy Xerox machine. It's very smudgy looking, the lines here are, it just doesn't look good. And even the yellow color here looks like it's partly like dusted with black dust. Just very poorly done reproduction. But again, I'm happy with the sound quality. One of the albums that I was the happiest to get as a reissue on vinyl, this was the happiest of those that I already had on CD. This is Jan Sneefor's Vinegar Blood, his only solo album from 1996. This was one of the albums that I hadn't thought would get a reissue, but once it was announced, I was very glad to get this one, although I nearly missed it because as soon as it was announced that they would reissue this, I made a pre-order for this. So a few days before this was released, they announced that there's only like 20 copies left and all the others have been pre-ordered. So come and get your copies now if you want. But I thought that, okay, I have a pre-order, so I don't have to hurry up with it. About 4 or 5 days after this was released, I went to the store and, hey, I have a pre-order, give me my copy. And they checked and they couldn't find my pre-order. And they said that all the copies have been sold. There's only those that are like reserved for those who had pre-order. So I was going to miss out on this. But luckily they told me that there's another record store in another town. So I went home and ordered this from the other store and managed to get this one. So now for a little story. It was sometime during the early 90s, and I started listening to a Finnish band called Royals, and I found their 2 studio albums, Spring '76 and Out, and I thought that they're great albums. And then later on I heard that they also have a live album. Okay, so I wanted that one too. And then I was somewhere in town, and I don't even remember where it was, but somewhere in town I happened to find out that, hey, there's a new record store. I went in, and the store clerk came to ask me anything specific you're looking for, and this album was the first one that I thought. And he said, yeah, sure. He went to the back room and brought out the Royals live. And I looked at it and thought that, okay, that wasn't difficult to find. I'll get that. How much is it? And he said, 500 marks. I was about to shit in my pants. I hadn't thought that any album could cost that much. And I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a collectible Finnish album. So I was... I believe I'm looking for something else. It was maybe... Was it the same year or the following year? This was issued on CD, so I got it for Christmas present. Later on, I learned that the reason why it was so expensive was for 2 reasons. First one, obviously, it didn't sell much of anything, and second was that the sleeve was made out of such a thin cardboard. Well, you could probably say that it was just paper, that it got torn very easily. The copy that I saw then was actually in perfect condition. But during the decades after that, I have seen it twice. First, those were, I would say, in decent condition, but the other one didn't really have a sleeve at all. It was completely torn, and it wasn't even completely there. It was just bits and pieces here and there, which were held together with tape, and not even with a clear tape. It had white tape between those bits and pieces. And still it cost, if I remember correctly, it was 275 euros. So yeah, so when this was announced that this is being issued on vinyl, I got it as soon as I could. unlike the original, this one is on gatefold sleeve, but unfortunately they have put the photo there the wrong way round. Not exactly a great album, I have to say, this one. Especially the last two, Public Jump and Last Jump. Public Jump is just, they had a guest there, so all that track is the guest there is going like, hey, 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 hey. So 24 seconds of that, and then they call it a track. And Last Jump is sort of a jam, but not even a good quality jam. So yeah, not exactly a great album, but to get it after 25 years, I'm very happy to finally get it. Okay, I think I'll stop this episode here, and I'll make another one right after this one. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you like this. Leave a comment. Bye.